Welcome back to What's Your Story. Michelle actually just came up, Willie's wife, and actually I'm probably pretty much out of a job right now. Michelle did so well, but I do appreciate her for stepping in for a few minutes. We're excited. This is Willie's book. The title of it is Whose Will. It's a good book. It's good reading. Willie is going to go ahead and share with us some more out of the book. It's Whose Will, Ordinary Person, Ordinary Life. It's a new book by Willie. Willie's going to go ahead and just share with us some more in detail basically about the book. Before Michelle came on, I know you was saying that in the process of doing the book that the title of the book changed several times, and that's the way it is with all authors. I mean, you'll start off, you'll have one thing in mind, one mindset, and all of a sudden as you begin to write, the option will within you changes. So therefore, as it changes, then the title of the book begin to change. So it is so unique at the way things happen. But you come to the conclusion. The title of the book is Whose Will. So if you will, just go ahead and how did you actually come up with Ordinary Person, Extraordinary Life?
Okay. Well, when I'm telling the story, what I want the reader to understand is that I'm no better than anybody else. That I'm no better than anyone else. That I'm an ordinary person, extraordinary life. Is to say that what God has done for me, He'll do for you. He'll do for anybody who's willing to follow His path. And that's where that comes from. It's really to let the people know that, you know, it's not that I'm any different, I'm any better. It's that I made a choice. Life is about the choices you make. That's the power that God gives us, is the power of choice. And I chose a better way of life. Just like I chose the drug addiction, I had a choice. And I think a lot of time people fail to realize that even the situations that they're faced with in life, that there's a choice. You know, there's a choice to deal with it or to get into the solution. I guess I would kind of say it like this. A lot of people spend a lot of time in the problem. They spend a lot of time in the problem. And even in my story, I spent a lot of time in the problem. But for every problem, there's a solution. Exactly. So you have to choose to get into the solution. Spend the energy in the solution, not in the problem.
Exactly. Yes. And that's well put. Because a lot of people spend all that energies in the problem when they can take those same energies that they are focused on in the problem and find the solution to the problem.
Right.
And therefore you'll come out of that situation, because if you just focus on all your energies on the problem, you'll eventually lose all your energy and the problem is still there.
That's right.
So in the process of it, that's a real good way to put it. Now I know we had talked about it and we had discussed throughout this book there are different subtitles to each page and each chapter that was so unique. If you had to go ahead and just pin one part of the book that will be special to you, what actually would you say it would be the highlight for Willie that moves you more than anything that may be in the book?
Well, you know, that's a very difficult question, because
I know you poured your heart into the whole book. I know that.
Yes.
But it's just certain thing. Is that certain thing or certain meat of the book that stands out to you more than probably any of the rest of it?
Well, I would have to say it was probably more in the recovery part of the book, in the end of the book, because my life changed then, and I learned something about alcoholism and drug addiction. Of course, I was a crack cocaine addict from the age of about 19 years old until I was about 28. And
that's a long time.
That's a long time. That's a long time to be in active addiction. But in the recovery process, I learned something about myself and about the disease of addiction. And that what I learned was it's a disease, that it's a mental obsession followed by a phenomenon of craving. And what happens in the body is when we indulge in alcohol, let me just clear this, make one thing clear. Everybody that drink is not alcoholic.
Exactly.
You know,
right.
everybody, some people can have a glass of wine or drink 1 or 2
And they
beers.
cool, right.
And they can stop.
Right.
That's the key, that they
Right.
have the ability.
You have control.
Yes.
Right.
They have the ability to start and the ability to stop.
Right.
Okay? As a drug addict or alcoholic, once we start, we can't stop.
You can't stop.
We can't stop.
Right.
We set off what is called a phenomena of craving. Our body craves it, and our mind can't stop the body from craving.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Right. So you've lost control.
lost control. It's a mind and body.
Right.
And once I understood that, I went to rehab probably about 5 times.
That's a good point, because I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I was in rehab about 5 times, and I would go in and I would go to the meetings, I would go to the counseling, but what I was missing was what was the problem. See, we talked about it earlier, problem and solution.
Right.
Once my sponsor, my AA sponsor, identified the problem, then I could get into the solution. I said, if someone would have explained that to me many years ago in rehab,
You wouldn't be going through this process 5 times.
I might not have had this book.
Okay.
But that's why we're here, is to share that information,
Okay.
and to make it clear and plain so people can understand it. They think that many people that's suffering today with drug addictions and alcoholism, they like, oh my God, why can't I stop? Well, I want to add something to that. Well, it's not about stopping.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having God remove the obsession, the thought. Obsession being an ideal or thought that overrides normal thinking.
Okay.
It's about having God remove the thought. So once we remove the thought, where I don't have to wake up in the morning and say, how I'm going to get a crack rock, or how I'm going to get a drink, where am I going to get that? We
Right.
want God to remove that.
Mhm.
Because as long as you don't put it in your body, once it's removed from the body, once you remove the alcohol and drugs from the body, then the work starts in the mind. That's where the work is.
Right,
now. It's in
exactly.
the mind. So
Right.
having God remove the thought again, and I'm trying to stress that.
Right, right.
That's how we recover.
Okay. Now, in the process of going in the 5 times, who is it that Willie had to first be honest with before he could actually be honest with anybody else?
Willie.
Yeah, and that's the whole key.
Yes.
To anybody that's suffering with any type of addiction, you have to first become honest with yourself and realize that you are the one that has the problem and nobody else is the problem. You're the problem. And until you can identify with that, then actually there's no help for you. I mean, that's just like a man saying he's not an alcoholic, like you said, but he can't stop drinking.
Right.
Well, if you can't stop drinking, it's a known fact. You're an alcoholic.
Right.
And the only way you can ever get any help or recover from this addiction, you have to first admit that I am an alcoholic. I've lost control.
Yes.
I have no control over this situation. And once you do that and become honest with yourself, then you can receive help because you're willing to receive help. But unless you're willing to receive help, nobody can help anybody. It's like a man that's drowning. You can try to save him.
Right.
But if he's set on drowning,
Right.
out of all you're trying to do to save him,
Right.
he's going to drown because he's made in his mind that's
Right.
what he wants to do. So I said that to say you can't save anybody's life if they don't want to be saved.
That's
you have
correct.
to first want to be saved yourself. And you brought up a key point where you was talking about once you get it out of your body and you go ahead and work on your mind, and then you allow the Spirit of the Lord to come in and do a work
Yes.
within your life.
Mhm.
Because if you change a man's mind, you can change his path.
That's right.
If you change his mind, you can change his whole mindset and his whole perspective about life. And that's where it starts. So I definitely appreciate you sharing those points with our viewers because somebody out there right now be struggling with some type of addiction, alcohol or drug, or just any type of addiction.
Yes.
And Willie is a living testimony. I'm a living testimony that whatever addiction you may have, that there is a solution to every problem. There's no such thing as a problem without a solution.
That's right. And if there's no solution to it, then that is something that you have to accept. That's when acceptance comes in. If there's no solution to the problem, It's acceptance.
Right.
I have to accept the fact that this is how this is going to be, and accept that, and life goes on.
Right. Yeah. But even in the midst of that, we know that through Jesus,
Yes.
there is a solution to every problem that's in life. We may have to do like Paul. Paul said, "I have learned to be content in every situation." Right. So there are some things in our life we may have to learn to be content. But we do know that through the Spirit of the Lord, there is a solution to our problems. How long did it actually take you to complete the book from start to finish?
Took me 7 years.
7 years.
7 years.
So that means during the process of the 7 years, there was a lot of starting and stopping.
Yes, there was, because I only would write in the Spirit.
Right, that's understandable.
I wasn't trying to be, write a book so I can get it out and sell it and make millions of dollars off of it. That's not the purpose of the book. The purpose of the book is to help someone change their way of thinking, like we said first, to know that no matter what situation they're faced with in life, that there is hope, that God is the solution to the problem. So by, making sure that the story was true, making sure that I put my heart in it, that I didn't just try to get it finished so I could get it out and say I wrote a book.
Right. Just pin something on a page to get through that page.
Yes,
or put length or depth to the book.
Correct. Correct.
So in other words, basically, you poured yourself into this project. You poured yourself into this book because you want the readers and those that will come into contact with this book to feel what you feel when you wrote it, and for that life to change in the process as yours changed while you was doing the book.
Yes, indeed, and I can honestly say that we have accomplished that in this story. That again, from the people that have read the story, they call me or they email me, or even some personal friends from our church. They come to me and they say, "It's just amazing." They say it's amazing. It's amazing that someone could be so honest or so transparent.
Right.
And again, self had to die when I told this story. Self had to die because it wasn't about me.
Right.
It was about the suffering addict. It was about the father that wasn't treating their kids right, or there wasn't any love in the house. It was about that abused kid. It was about so many other things. The spousal abuse. It was about that. It was about a peer pressure. It was about bullying, and there's so many areas in this book, or so many experiences that I've had in life that's in this story. Some of the same things that are taking place today, is in this book. And by sharing my story, I pray that it can help somebody else, or to identify some of the problem areas in their homes.
Okay. Well, I want to say before we go to commercial break, it's important for all of us to be transparent, and it's important for all of us to be honest.
Yes.
Because how can you help change someone else's life when you won't be honest and transparent with your own story? Because this is your life. This is who you are. And we cannot run from who we are. We have to identify with who we are, where we are right now. But in the process of being where you are doesn't determine that you have to stay there. That's the whole story. And we appreciate Willie. We appreciate his story. We'll be right back after this.